Hey, everybody. Welcome to a special edition of Change Chat, where we're going to talk about just a few things that I've been interested in. And one is going to be a video I released last night on these small miniature e-readers that seem to be taking the ink community by storm. I know currently, yes, technically it's a niche within a niche, but you've really got a lot of interest, especially around these XT e-ink devices that are selling really well. I mean, I've seen a lot of coverage on them, and not just from the bigger creators, a lot of people who are coming out and they're just showcasing how they're using these little devices. And I was reached out to by XTE Inc. I still don't have one of them in hand. And you can go watch my video where I talk a little bit about that and also the book's tile series. And that's where this really kind of hit me. And I thought I should talk about it, is the tile series, because books entering this space, I think, gives this category or this new form factor some legitimacy. And I'm not saying it wasn't legitimate before, but it wasn't mainstream. You know, once you get one of the bigger providers into the space, bigger manufacturers, then you begin to see more of an uptick on adoption. So the fact that XTE Inc. got out ahead of this, and now they not only have their two original, I believe it's the X3 and the X4, but now they have the X4 Pro, and they're going to have this new Android model or some type of Android system. And so they're going to have all of these different devices. So the fact now that books is jumping into that space really kind of changes that dynamic, because one of the draws, I would say, for the XTE ink is that it's very economical. These are not expensive little devices, although they're starting to creep up. But you can get your hands on some of them for anywhere from $30 to $60. And then, yes, the newer ones are coming up over $100, but those are running with a front light, touch screen, a lot of different things. So it's going to be interesting to see what Books does here. I know I've had a really good discussion on Discord with people saying that I just can't get it. I can't get the sub 6-inch device. I don't understand why you would want to carry that. And I'm going to go ahead and share my screen, because Books mentions in their press release that they sent a few things that really got me thinking about these small form factor devices. Hopefully you're able to see the screen. This is just a Word document that Books sent out to people who engage with them regularly. And for me, the only one we know of for sure is this one you see here in the second paragraph that's going to be called the Pico. And the Pico, if we scroll down a little bit more, is going to be 3.97 inches. It's going to be monochrome, so no color, and it's going to have front light support and a TF card, which is that expandable storage. And to me, a lot of the reason that that makes sense is because I think they're trying to keep the operating system as light as possible. Now, I don't know that. I don't know if they're going to try to put the Neo reader on a device this size. I don't know if they're going to try and put Android or full Google Play on here. I think it will be Android based, but now whether or not it has full Google Play, I have no idea. And I don't know what would be involved in the engineering and shrinking all of that down to get it into a 3.97 inch display. So we'll have to wait and see. But by using the TF card in the expandable storage, they can reduce the footprint directly on device. And I think that's what makes it interesting. But beyond that, they're saying this is a whole category. So where does it start? Does it start at 3.97 and actually get smaller? Does it start at 3.97 and go up closer to the 6-inch where you're looking at like the Go 6? I don't know. They haven't given us any more information than what you currently see on my screen. But what I wanted to talk about and what I wanted to get your input on and maybe your comments on is, where do you see this being useful? Where do you see this type of device? And I know Kit has done a lot of coverage on this. He's had the XTE ink, several other folks, and I'll drop them down in the description. Some of the names are eluding me at the moment, have talked about just the size and the format and how nice it is to have something they can carry in their front pocket not worry about because it's the most premium build quality. So they're not worried about it breaking and not worried about it. It's a very low investment because they're paying less for these devices. But beyond that, beyond just the comfort of it, the design, and this is something that I think Books talks to here. It says designed for more convenient and spontaneous reading scenarios, including daily commuting, travel, and on the go reading. And I internalized that a little bit to think back to when I used to have a 1 hour train ride commute into Chicago and then back out. So 2 hours, I'm sitting on the train in Chicago and between there and Northwest Indiana, and you have spotty Wi-Fi, if Wi-Fi at all, depending on how well that's implemented on the train. And I would have my phone out and I would be trying to do some work, or I'd pull my laptop out and I'd be trying to do some different things, and the Wi-Fi would drop and we'd have all kinds of issues. And quite frankly, I loved the train ride to be able to kind of decompress and think about something that wasn't work and be able to just be with my own thoughts. In that scenario, I could see something like this as being really valuable. The Go 6 might be a little bit too big to just put away and slip away. It wouldn't be too big to hold, obviously. The Go 6 is very light. It's one of my favorite devices of the year. But if I wanted to be able to switch and just slide it into my front pocket and then pull it back out and pick up reading, I could see the value and the utility of this, because you couldn't do that with the Go 6. It wouldn't just fit in your pocket. You'd have to pull it out of your bag. It can fit in your back pocket, but you don't want to sit on it. So on the train, again, you'd be having to shuffle and reorient or open up your bag and pull out the device. But I think that's really interesting. I'm not sure what Books is going to do with it. And I have a couple of photos here that I'm going to pull up real quick too to show you. And we can kind of take a look at these together. So here's one view of the Pico and how they've got that set up. So it's very small. And to me, it looks like it's just between the X3 and the X4 on the XTE. And I think that that's what this is aiming for directly. I think Books very rarely doesn't take aim at the competition, and they don't like to leave themselves out of a market. So they are really looking to fill the space, and I think that's pretty cool. Aaron says, I'd rather use the Palma 2 Pro. I have the XE ink. It's a little too small. Yeah, and I struggle with that, Aaron. I really do. I think that the Palma 2 Pro I like. I've made content on it. I do like it. I don't like that I have the color version as much as I think I'd like the black and white version, but I also I think it should be a phone. And I think that's the thing that bothers me the most. I don't think it's meant really to be an e-reader. And that could be partially because of the one I have. Because the Kaleido screen, I can really see the pigment. I can see the CFA layer on the top. And when I'm reading, it's distracting with the front light on. I want to make that caveat. When the front light's off, it's less distracting, but you have to have really, really good light for that. So I think I'd have a different experience if it was the black and white version. But even then, it's heavier, it's clunkier, it's wider, and the Go 6 is just so much better for me for reading. And I think that's my different case there. And back to what She Ink was saying about the note-taking features, I don't know if Books is going to make this writable. They're not saying. They didn't give us yet any real specifics on what it's going to be doing, but they mentioned specifically reading. That was kind of their go-to, was to say this is for on your commute, anytime you're around, whatever you're doing, you have a book with you. So I think having a book with you at all times is always a good thing. The thing I worry about in a lot of ways is the fact that the XTE ink, and maybe you can let me know about this, She Ink, because you have one, or you, Aaron, because you have them already. But She Ink says, I wish my XTE ink did a little more. I have my Go 6-2 in my pocket right now, though. So far for the last few days, only the battery's been the only bummer. Yeah. And depending how much you read on the Go 6, if you do long reading sessions, the battery is going to let you down a little bit. I think the good thing about the Go 6, though, is how cross-platform it is. So being able to have your Kobo books, your Kindle books, your Project Gutenberg books, your Libby books, all of those different things make it, to me, the best universal reader out, if you don't mind charging it every 1 to 2 days. And I think that works. Now, I get more than 1 to 2 days out of it, but I'm trying to put myself in the mindset of the heavy reader. And primarily that's because I have to do so many other things for reading that I don't read on one dedicated device all the time. So my reading experience is a little bit different that way. Aaron says, see, I'm happy it's not a phone. I like the color, but you might be right as a reader. The Go 6 seems great. The Go 7 is a great reader as well. Yeah, and I don't think I would have a problem with the Go 7 either. I just don't have one of those. I'm really finding that I'm loving the Go 6 because of just how small it is and everything. Shing says, I love the way the Palma platform is so much more useful for so many more things. Yeah, and that, to me, I just wish, I'm not trying to, be a broken record here, but I really do wish it was a phone, because I think they just missed that little bitty step. And I know you can jailbreak it or do something with it. Kit did this and put an app on that'll allow you to make phone calls. But at the same time, to me, that still doesn't really make it a phone. And I think that's just a miss. And it's my own personal opinion. I don't think it's bad as is. And I think as a reader, it works perfectly fine. I just don't see it. Aaron says, I do like the XT ink for some quick reads, but not for long reading. Yeah. And that's where I'm kind of torn. Is it for just that 1 hour commute where you may be on the train? Is it just to keep yourself from doom scrolling and jumping onto Instagram or YouTube analytics, which I have a big problem with YouTube analytics. I like to look at them, although I think I'm going to slow down now since we already hit the 1 million views and the 5,000 subscribers. I think I'm going to try and slow myself down on checking it as much as I was, just to be more clear. So let me show one more real quick picture and let me know which one of these do you like better. I think it doesn't really matter on this, but so this is the other view. And of course, it's the same view kind of, but only from the back. And I think they're trying to show you the simplicity and also how it fits into the hand. And I think that's one thing about these that are really good for that quick reading session, and it's not supposed to be a heavy device. The Palma 2 Pro, while not heavy, isn't really light either. Quite frankly, the Go 6 feels lighter to me than the Palma, and the Go 6 is also still big enough for me to palm. And I think that's important. I can use it comfortably holding it in one hand. Aaron says, do you still use the Next Paper phone? I don't, Aaron, because it wouldn't work on my cellular network. So I actually gave my 60 Ultra away, and I was supposed to get a 70 Pro, and that hasn't materialized. My contact has not resurfaced. I've still thought about seeing if I can purchase one that's unlocked and seeing if it would work on Xfinity. Because to be honest, even though I love e-ink and I love reading on e-ink, at night in bed when I want to read on a reader, the Go 6 is really good. So it's kind of helped with that. But prior to that, the crispest display for me was the 60 Ultra. And there's something they do with the blue light balance and the way that they're handling the way it looks. Kindle on that was beautiful, absolutely beautiful. And I really liked it for that. But I didn't see, again, the point in keeping it just as a reader. I really wanted to look at it as a full phone and e-reader. And the only concern I have with the 70 Pro if they do send it to me, is the idea that it has an active pen, not an EMR stylus. The 60 was very good about having an EMR pen, and that really worked well. So for me, the 70, I would love to see it. I would love to see it as a reader. I'd love to see what the writing experience is like on it. I've seen Kit's reviews on it, and he's done a really good job of kind of pointing out how it works. And I miss it. I kind of miss that component of it, but we'll have to see long-term kind of what happens with that device. So not really sure. I'm going to switch again back to my screen because I ran across something last night that really got me intrigued. And so I started a conversation with David at Tablet Tech because I was like, have you seen this thing? It looks really, really cool. Let me see here. One more comment popped in. You may be right. The Palma 2 Pro is heavy. The Go 7 seems lighter. Yeah, I don't know about the Go 7 because I don't have it, but the Go 6 is definitely, it feels lighter. I can't imagine that it's not. Now, I could be wrong about that, but at some point, maybe I'll get into the weighing business, but I don't generally tend to weigh my devices. This is a device that, like I said, it got me started, and I talked with David and was just like really excited about it. And kind of crazily so. But this is the InkLeaf. Now, this hasn't hit Kickstarter yet, but it's got a website up. They're talking about it already. And I think that it just looks really cool. When I used to watch good e-readers videos when I was looking to buy my first device, they did one, and I can't remember the name of it. So somebody, if you know in the comments, let me know. But it was made for like sheet music. So you would actually be able to have pages side by side, and it was made to go up on a stand in front of you for someone playing piano or playing some kind of instrument so that they could have both of those pages at the same time. However, with the InkLeaf, this is targeted with the idea of writing and note taking in mind. And I think that's something that is really interesting. Aaron said about this particular device, the InkLeaf, that he saw it and he said $9.99, but if you pre-order, it's $500. Well, yeah, it's $489. I've asked for a review unit because I thought it was very interesting, but I also went to their founder link, which you can do here by going to get early access, and it's a $10 deposit that's refundable. It locks in a price of $489. And if you think about that in context, that is extremely aggressive. And if you think about the final price, which is approaching $1,000, but when you consider that the WeWoods launched saying it was worth $899, or the Note Max is $700, and in this particular case, if this comes through on the promises, now remember, this is going to be a Kickstarter. This is going to be one of those things where it's at your own risk here. I'm not recommending this. I'm telling you, it intrigues me and I find it very interesting. So I find that to be compelling. And when something excites me, which hasn't happened in a long time, I like the books devices. I like all of these different devices, but I haven't been to where I see this use case immediately. Like immediately, I could have a student paper up on my left and I could have a notepad on my right without losing screen real estate for something like split screen. The Note Max is great, but can you imagine two full 10.3-inch screens, one on the left and right, to be able to work with? That's kind of a dream of mine, to have that kind of an experience. And the fact that it folds up. Now, I am a little concerned with how they're going to deal with keeping the screens from rubbing together or some other things, but we've seen foldable devices for a while now with glass, and they seem to be working really well. So I'm curious. I think for $489, if they come through on the promises that they're making here, makes this extremely competitive, but that's taking a high risk. And I would not recommend somebody do that unless you are really wanting to do that. And I have no affiliation with this team or anything. I just find it exciting. Aaron was answering Shing's question, a reader, but it'd be great if the calendar app on it synced, or the Kindle app or other reader apps. I think what's really interesting to me about books entering that market is how are they going to deal with it? Are they going to make it to where it is a standalone device? Or are they going to make it to where it syncs in some way with the book's ecosystem so that you can get the EPUBs that you have on one device over to another? And I think Kit mentioned that in one of his discussions on it. If they do that, that increases the power and it increases the value proposition. Because right now, XTE Inc. has cornered this market because they have kind of the perfect storm. They're cheap, They're reliant kind of on the public domain or DRM-free books, and they have no real competitors. Once books enters that space, what happens to that conversation? And books will give you maybe some different options as far as different reading apps. And if they do, that's going to be huge. It's going to be huge. And then people will be able to say, okay, I don't have to worry about downloading Calibre. And to be fair, and I know that a lot of folks say, well, just strip the DRM. That's not legal. And it's not illegal because you're breaking copyright. There's actually a digital law that says you can't break digital rights management. So it's a whole nother can of worms. And I don't understand how Calibre kind of gets around it. Maybe they're saying since you own the book, you can strip it since you bought that. But I think that's a murky area of the law because like fair use doesn't cover if you break digital rights management. And the reason I know this is because I worked in a law library years ago. And one of the law librarians told me that if you strip the digital rights management off of a video or an audio or material that's covered by it, you're actually breaking the law. Now, do they enforce that? Obviously not, because Calibre is out there. It's useful. People love it. But I don't want to have to go through all that either. I think if I buy it from Kobo or if I buy it from Kindle or if I buy it from wherever or I download it from Libby, I shouldn't have to worry about all of that extra stuff. So let's go back to the InkLeaf. Let's look at this. So one screen always makes you choose. And I think they're right about this. And I think that's one of the things that, again, Supernote has the quick access menu so you can easily jump back and forth. Books has split screen so that you can put two things side by side, but you're still, no matter which of those scenarios you're using, making a compromise because you're losing either size or you're having to do a gesture to jump back and forth. So I think that is very important to remember. And so they kind of give you that description here. You have the reader that's great for long sessions. I wouldn't say that it's useless. I think they're going a little hyperbole here, but it's marketing speak. If you want to annotate, sketch, or cross-reference, because again, you have split screen, you have the digest, you have all kinds of different things on these other devices that you can do that in. But I do think it's not as easy or as seamless or as frictionless to do all of that. And I think that's kind of what they're getting at. The problem, though, too, is there's a difference between annotation and note-taking. And I think that's where this device actually might shine, is that annotation is working with the text in front of you, highlighting, adding embedded comments, writing in the margins, adding it as a digest entry, and then you're still coming back to that same place. The only thing that, and I think books may be addressing this, if you go to, or maybe it's one of the other devices like iFlyTech or WeWoods, if you do split screen and you're writing, it doesn't keep it with the page you're on unless you duplicate all of the pages. There's one device I know of that does that well. Books didn't used to, but I haven't tried it in a little while. So my biggest frustration was if I was taking notes, basically whatever's on the left, I'm taking notes and it doesn't align. It doesn't match up unless I create a bunch of blank pages to go along. I think that's a pretty interesting way to think about it. If this allows you that capability by having two separate things, and as you advance one, it advances the other, that would be awesome. Or if there's some way to link, hey, I'm writing about this, but then you can write on the secondary screen, and then they do some kind of magic in the background to where they link that, that would be phenomenal. Let's see. Kurt has InkLeaf does look intriguing. Do you know if it can open it and fold it around as a spiral to have a single page to write on when you desire? No, you can't. So I do know that. There's a lot of stuff I don't know about the device yet. But that's one thing, and we'll get to that a little bit. It's only a 180. So it opens, and if you go up here, you'll see it opens up just like a book, and then it closes just like a book. But that's a great question. And then it stays open. So that does make the footprint pretty large as well. They're talking about a tablet bright, fast, glossy, wrong for 8-hour reading day, focus page of notes. Again, depends on how much you can deal with that. Single screen e-paper, better, still one canvas at a time. You're either reading or writing, never both. So I think they kind of get to that. So maybe I was a little harsh when they said about the reader being useless for annotations, but useless I still think is too harsh of a word because you can hold down long press and add annotations in by typing. It's not elegant, it's not easy. But they kind of separate that out from an e-paper device. It's built for how you actually work, is how they say, 2 full-size ink screens. You can press for a bolder line, flip the pen to erase. They do not say if this is EMR or if it's active, so I'm not sure yet which one it's going to be. And here is where they say it folds like a hardcover. It's 180 degrees, 2-page spread. The way a book is meant to be read is, kind of what the argument they're making here. It opens to true 2-page spread, no center seam to fight, and it slips between books on a shelf. I don't know why you would put it in books on a shelf, but maybe you would. And then it fits flat in your bag. So kind of neat to see how this looks. Aaron says, not a fan of the 2 screens. Split screen is good for me, along with my reading notes. I just put links to my note in the section I'm taking notes on. Yeah, and it may not be for you, Aaron, but for me, this would be brilliant if they had a lot of different capabilities. If this device could link what I'm writing down to a specific point in the document that I'm reading and really put those in tandem, that opens up a whole new world. Aaron, to your point, I don't see it as reader focused unless you mean that it's reading focused for people taking notes while they're reading. I would agree with that because I think that's what they're going for. Now, again, until it's out, until somebody gets it in their hands, it's why I joined the Founders thing. Not only the fact that it's less than half price if you do that, but also the fact that for $489, it's hyper competitive against single screen units. And if I get it in my hands, then I'll know what that implementation looks like, because I could see this being very much a competitor if you're a reading and note-taking focused person, because Remarkable is note-taking focused and you have one screen. This is the same size as the Paper Pure, and it has 2 screens, one to read on, one to write on. Now, am I saying it's as good a screen? Don't know. Those specs aren't here yet. Am I saying that it's going to have seamless sync? It doesn't appear like it's going to out of the box. They talk about specifically not having an app. So they're thinking a lot about keeping a lot of this on device. So it's a very different kind of notebook from what we've seen. So here it says pressure sensitive ink with friction of real paper, search across every note you've ever taken. So that does imply handwriting search, OCR. So that's good to see. Low latency, export to PDF, send to email, sync over Wi-Fi, and searchable handwriting across all notebooks. Now, it doesn't mention EMR or active, so I don't know. I'll be a little disappointed if they go active, but at the same time, that technology is getting better. It's still not as good to me, but I think it is getting better. Now, here is where it gets a little interesting. It does run on Android, but it says it's a full computer and paper form, but they don't talk about Google Play that I can see. It does say you can browse the web, so it's going to have a built-in browser of some kind. It does say you can read multiple formats, but only open formats. So the way it looks here, I don't think they're going to have apps. So that's going to be something we're going to have to, kind of dig into and find out. Are they going to have Kobo? Are they going to have Libby? Are they going to have any kind of integration with other reading apps? I think it's a big miss if they don't. I think that's something that most people who read and want to take notes and annotations and different things really want that. And they see here, you can see they have in testing the AI handwriting search. So they're even mentioning a few AI functions here. I do like the fact that it folds. That's one of the things that got me so interested, because of the fact that it's large enough to do that screen side by side, but then you can fold it right up and you can drop it in your bag. And it's about the same size as any of the other 10.3 to 10.65 inch tablets out there. And it's fairly light. 480 grams for 2 screens is fairly light when you consider, just the size and the overall footprint of it. And of course, this is all their stuff. And they've got some tactile buttons you can see here. I'm also wondering if they've got something to make sure that there's a gap so those screens don't touch each other. But then you've really got to be careful about the hinge and hope that it is not going to cause an issue as well. But it's a 180-degree hinge, built to outlast the device, they're saying. So they're saying it's built to somewhere on here for thousands of openings, and they've got some tactile keys. They're saying it's Carta, but they're not saying what type. But when you look at the thickness for 2 full screens side by side, it's 8.4 millimeters, and it's 4.2 when you open it up. And the weight is 480 grams. It's got 4096, and it's got a pen that has an eraser. It's got a quad-core processor, only 2 gigabytes of RAM, which has me a little concerned. But again, Remarkable seems to run fine on that. So it's going to depend, again, how much they're doing with the software. How much of a custom skin is Android on this? How much power do they need? We see that an Android device can run really well on small RAM. If you look at the Books Go 6 Gen 2, it runs very well and snappy on 3 gigabytes of RAM. I don't know about this. 64 gig onboard storage. It has a speaker and dual mic, and it has Wi-Fi and USB-C. And here again, they're showing you more pictures of it opening up. And this was an interesting comparison to me. So you'll notice that they compare it to Remarkable and Books when it's open. So if you look, it's actually thinner per screen than both of those other competitors and devices. And they also compare it to the Kindle. And then if you look here, and this is the thing to me I found very interesting and kind of cool, it's 480 grams. But the Books Note Air 4C is what they're comparing it to, was 420 grams. That is not a huge trade-off for the size difference and the dual screen. And Remarkable's 404 grams. And then you get 400 on the Kindle. So again, 10.3 inch, and the Kindle's a little bit bigger in screen size. And you get not much heavier. That's impressive if they can pull that off. But also, what other use cases? I mean, I grade a lot of papers and I do a lot of academic writing and different things like that, but I also do a lot of brainstorming, and I could see for course design having my course objectives and learning outcomes and everything over on the left, and then starting to sketch out on the right all of the different module setup or resources I may need or different books I may need. Now, will it have links? Will it have other things that make it even more powerful? Don't bet on it until they tell you that, because you never purchase something for what it might be. And I have concerns. I have concerns about, the construction and whether or not the 2 screens could end up causing a problem. How do you protect it? They don't show any kind of a case. What happens, since it's so thin, if you put it into a bag and you have something heavy push against and those screens end up maybe one or both cracking? Those are some of my early thoughts on it. I'm also a little bit apprehensive about it not having any other reader app other than open formats. Could they work in and try to get something like Adobe Digital Editions in place so that you could at least read DRM content that you own? So those are all really important to me. Shing said, really like that shirt, by the way. I'm going to stand up for a minute so everybody can see the full shirt, because this was a custom shirt that the kids got me for Father's Day. So if you know, if you're a big Avengers fan, especially, It's one of those things that it really meant a lot when they bought it because we had watched all of them together and we went to see them in the movie theater. And it started over COVID where we did the whole build up to watch Avengers Endgame and all that. So it was a lot of fun. I get a lot of compliments on this shirt when I'm out and about and somebody sees it and they know and they're like, I love it. So yeah, it's a lot of fun. I really enjoy it. Kurt said, it would be great if you and a couple of other reviewers could get review units. Kurt, like I said, I've already asked, but I also signed up as a founder. So this is a device that I'm truly thinking about purchasing. So if I purchase it, and they may send me a review unit too, I don't know. Like I said, that deposit's refundable. So we'll see kind of more communication that comes out. The founder device is supposed to come out this month. So in August. They said that if there is a delay, they will communicate directly with anyone who signed up. So we'll see. David says, dual screens are what intrigued me. It's also true. This is also true of folding phones like the old Microsoft Surface Duo. Yeah, I never had a Duo. I told you that last night, David. I always wanted one. That was probably one of the biggest FOMO moments for me because I didn't have the money to buy one and I wanted one so bad. And then, of course, the Microsoft phones went away. I actually liked the idea of a Windows phone because I'm a Windows user. So I was super excited about all of that. And then Microsoft was, I think, smart to get out of the hardware business. But those were things that I thought were really cool. Aaron says, sounds like Mobius Flex screen would be perfect for this tablet. I agree. I would love to see a 10.3 Mobius screen on each of these because it would be smart in a lot of ways, especially if they did both the Mobius screen and the flexible backplane. And if the device itself, maybe except for the hinge, was some kind of composite plastic, because that would increase your durability huge. And I think that would be a really good way to think about it. But again, I don't know. And I mean, the price tag on this thing at full price is steep. I mean, $999, but you also have to realize you're getting 2 full-size screens. And I think that does change the dynamic. And I'm going to be interested to see, because they don't give you the specs yet on battery life and what the battery is. They say weeks of battery life, but if you have this built the way it is, and I don't know how they would do it because, again, I'm not an engineer. I leave that stuff to Trey and to Jay and all the other people I know who are. It would be really cool if they could have a much larger battery footprint in something like this because of the fact that they basically have 2 full screens. So if you think about the real estate that they're working with, but I don't know how they would make that work across the 2 different, or if each screen has a dedicated battery. It's interesting because it only says 1 USB, so they've got to have some way to transfer the power across. Kurt says, are they active on Reddit? I don't know. I've seen them a lot on Facebook. I've seen a lot of the ads and different things, and I've seen on Kickstarter that they've started to talk. But I'll check into that, Kurt, and try and find out if they've got an active presence on Reddit or not. That's one thing that I really enjoy about both Supernote and Books is that their communities are active on Reddit. And Remarkable has a very active Reddit community. I just don't have a Remarkable device. I like companies that are very active on Reddit or on Facebook. So, for example, you all know I use Riverside, and Riverside is what I'm streaming this with. Love that platform. It's absolutely worth what you pay for it, in my opinion. And they are extremely active in their Facebook group. I mean, extremely active. Their community, I believe, is around 30,000. And they jump in, they answer questions, they're developers. Their community engagement manager, Kendall, is awesome. So, I mean, it's a really great experience. And Jay just popped in. I have a really hard time believing this InkLeaf thing is going to have remotely acceptable performance with the specs, 2 big screens, quad core, 2 gigabytes RAM. What are they smoking? I don't know, Jay. And like I said, let me see here. And why aren't they sharing? Rude. I don't know. I find it compelling enough to take a chance on getting into that founders thing for the $10 deposit because again, there's no downside. It's all refundable. And they are saying that you even get a 30-day refund policy on the device. But again, it hasn't even hit Kickstarter yet. It is in production, they've said, which is why if you go into the founder and you agree to pay that price, you can get the unit for half of what they're talking about it being. Now, that is very much, in my opinion, a risk. So don't take that risk if it's not something you're willing to do. I never want anybody to buy something and then have that comment, as if you watched the live stream with me and David and Jeff the other day. I don't want those comments that, hey, you said this was great and I went and bought it. I'm glad that you believe in me enough to do that, but you should have watched 5 other people because I am not the authority on everything. I'm going to give you my best opinion, my best guess. And then after that, I'm going to want you to do your research and make up your own mind. This has got me excited in a way that is unique because it really speaks to my use case, but it could be a complete disaster and a flop. And I don't want to overstate or understate that. Thank you so much for hanging out. Thanks for being here with me for a little while, as always, and I will talk to you all soon. Bye now.